Sure.
What's up, guys? Matt Merenoff, Real Estate Recovery Group, and my co-chair today is the lovely Leah Chambers from Real Estate Recovery Group.
Hi, guys.
Today, we're going to talk about short sales gone wild. No, I'm kidding. Short sales gone wrong. Or I can say wild. That's fine, too. One property, two listing agents. Leah, let's get into it. You want to start? You want me to start?
You start how this homeowner came to us.
All right, so we get a lead. Reach out to the homeowner, talk to the homeowner, try to get an idea of what it is that she's trying to do. She explained that she had somebody helping her or guiding her or giving some information regarding the possibility of selling her property. There's a sheriff's sale date that was coming up. We got our authorization into the bank. We had talked to the bank. We explained a little bit about what was going on, with the moratorium going on. The sale had got pushed off to October, I think.
Yeah.
And we tried to find out some more information, what was going on. A little hesitation from the homeowner's side, giving documentations, filling out paperwork. We had asked for additional information that we had needed to move forward with providing, obviously, the level of service that we do. Hesitation. We got bits and pieces from some financials. I had asked the daughter if the daughter could help out. No problem. Didn't hear anything. Reached out. Didn't hear anything back. Didn't think anything of it. Had called the homeowner. Asked, hey, what's going on? How are you? Abruptly says that, I guess her mom had passed away. That's fine. My condolences. Take the property off the MLS. I don't want to work with you anymore. I said, well, it really doesn't work like that. The homeowner said, yes, it does. And I said, well, you have to contact the listing agent if that's what you want to do. But the plot thickens because the homeowner had gone through the process, open house, multiple showings, specific times. Didn't want the property, to be open with an actual lockbox. Wanted the listing agent or myself, both of us, to be present when people had gone into the property. Fine. Fast forward. We actually got an offer on the property. It was a decent offer. Offer was submitted, didn't work. Had the seller back over to our office space to get paperwork filled out. Filled out paperwork, no problem. Everything's great. Find out there's a new buyer that's interested. We had some unfortunate break-ins in the property. Everything is documented, police reports, the whole nine. Real Estate Recovery Group, obviously, we like to cover, what. There was documents that were drawn up every step of the way to show what we were doing, what we weren't providing. Homeowners signed off on it. Yesterday, I get alerted that there's somebody at the property stating that they are the listing agent of the property. Knowing who the listing agent was, I found this very discouraging. I went over to the property, take a look. The person who I approached was a little bit combative, wanted to know who I was, what my interest in the property was. Was I the owner of the property? Or what my interest was in it. I did not disclose who I was because, quite honestly, I don't have to, but I did state my company was a short sale company. And the agent basically said, well, there's no way that's possible because my company is handling the short sale. We have a listing signed agreement. So I was like, this is crazy. I'm like, maybe I should call the cops. And the agent said, call the cops. I didn't call the cops. But, I got some information. I reached out to Leah to tell her what was going on. And we kind of pieced things together at that point to try to get an idea of what was really going on. I had mentioned the name of the real estate agent, and the real estate agent was tied in with a different organization. And I think above everything else, there was some amazing disconnect going on between the seller and who one person perceived they were the listing agent and who really was the listing agent. From that point, Lee, I'm gonna let you take over.
So, Matt calls me and tells me we have a problem and that there is another agent that is claiming the listing. And then we find out that this particular agent actually is an agent of a broker who was a student of Matt's, and her negotiator is one of my students, which was kind of interesting. So I immediately hung up with him and called my student and was like, hey, do you have this individual listed as an agent in your broker's office? And she said, we do. I said, we have a problem. She says, yeah, we definitely do. So on her end, she had been speaking to the bank in regards to the short sale since March. We'd been talking to the bank since like February. And we then at that point decided to give a phone call to the bank together and find out what exactly was going on. We called my negotiator that I was dealing with, and he was like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, here's the issue. I was like, you know how I've been waiting for the valuation to be done? So it was getting ready to be done, but they showed up with the wrong agent. And he's like, what do you mean? So go through my stuff, and he's like, oh, no. He's like, your agent's the agent of record. And then the other negotiator, the other broker's negotiator, then said, hey, can you check on this file number? And can you check on this situation? He says, oh, wow. So the file was actually in two separate short sale reviews for the same mortgage loan and had on record two different real estate agents and two different buyers. That that was the first problem, is how could the bank miss that? Because usually there's one system of record, one template. It's it was pretty amazing. And then the next issue was after we figured that out, the bank said let us know what where to go is to find the negotiator. And I then started talking, and we're trying to figure out which buyer had the higher offer, who came in first. And then I had to notify my buyer, my seller's attorney, that, hey, this seller signed a contract with two different people at two different times. So she is in breach, essentially, for both buyers. She lied to buyers, is what she's done. So moving forward, Matt and I speak to the attorney's paralegal, ask us what do we want to do. I told her what we really should do. Technically, I can't stand in the way of a buyer who wants to file litigation against a breach of contract. She clearly committed fraud. But then I got a phone call back from the other negotiator, and the other negotiator is like, you know what, we're going to concede. You guys are a lot further than we are. You guys can keep the file, which was interesting because I know this team. They're very aggressive. I'll give them props. They're good at what they do. However, it was just really peculiar they would give this file up like that, especially with the way the agent was fighting. And now, obviously, we're unfolding a bigger mess that's involved. Matt, do you want to say that part? Do you want me to go over that part?
No, you can go over that part.
Okay. So I had asked, most people are like, well, how is that possible if you see it in the MLS? Like, why wouldn't you see that it was already listed? So our agent lists the property in the New Jersey MLS, which is the MLS of record for that particular county. The other agent went to Garden State MLS, supposedly. So we obviously do have access to all the MLSs. So we went ahead and started doing our due diligence because we had to pull together everything, because I have to provide everything to my buyer's attorney to say, hey, listen, we're not sure how this happened. This is what's transpiring. We need to know what steps you want to take and provide them everything that they're going to need to make a decision on their end. And then we couldn't find the MLS. So the Garden State MLS showed a record of the house being listed like in 2007 or 2009, something crazy like that. And it had not been relisted. So that was the first red flag. So then I called back to the bank, and the bank's like, oh no, we have an MLS data sheet, and here's the MLS number. And I'm looking at that MLS number, and that is from the sale of the home in 2000 whatever. So I said, so what are the dates you have on there? And he's like, oh, it's good for until 2021. I'm like, okay. So I have requested a copy of it because what it seems like is that the agent altered the MLS data sheet, which is a huge no-no.
So just so we can clarify, and let's regroup a little bit. You're stating that there was two different listing agents on the property.
Yeah.
The first agent, that clearly it's all over the internet stating that the property is listed with that particular agent, but the other paperwork had indicated you're saying an MLS property that was allegedly probably altered with newer dates on it. Is that correct?
Correct. You're right. So because Jan just posted a good question, and she said, how did the second agent list the property in the MLS to market property? Same register would prevented us. So Jan, unlike Missouri, New Jersey has like 7 different MLSs. I mean, it may not be 7, but I know there's more than just one. And not all the MLSs talk to each other. So we thought at first that Garden State and New Jersey MLS would actually speak to each other, and they would say, hey, red flag, this is already listed. The problem is that it actually wasn't on the MLS. So I'm thinking maybe it is the similar thing that we've been running into a lot lately, where these agents are doing listing contracts or listing agreements, and then they just don't put it on the MLS for whatever reason, because they're trying to they're not doing the right thing, and they just are on purpose, or they just don't know what they're doing. Nonetheless, this agent she just never put on the MLS. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's just she has a listing agreement. I guess what she doesn't have either. She never had a listing agreement. Unfortunately, at the same time that I was talking to the bank, all of the communication that I was having with the bank and my processor was having with the bank was being circumvented by this agent and her negotiator. Again, no offense to the partner negotiator that I know. She's a great person. She had no clue about us either. All because the seller lied. The seller just completely lied. So now we have a buyer on their side who's completely backed out, probably because they didn't have the right of way, because it wasn't actually listed on the MLS and whatnot. But now I have a buyer on my side who is thoroughly pissed because of the money that he put out. And now the seller is trying to state a lot of making valid statements about RRG and Matthew and whatnot. And luckily, and it's kind of funny, Matthew was being a little bit extra with this file, and I wasn't really sure why. And he said, just trust me on this. I have a gut feeling. Well, I'm glad that he went with his gut feeling and didn't listen to me bitching.
Which happens a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. But now we have a matter of this seller who is in distress, who was not forthcoming with the parties that were involved, who has questioned and demanded a larger EMD. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that just doesn't jive. Now the question is what do we do? Because we're big on helping the homeowner, we're big on doing the right thing, but what do you do when a homeowner decides to be a liar, essentially, at that point? I have licenses to protect on my end. That's not just mine. It's my agents, it's my attorneys, it's everyone that's involved in the transaction, my title company. I do have to also protect my seller, but when my seller is self-sabotaging themselves, I can't. I have to pick a side. Right now, my opinion is to let it go to foreclosure sale. My opinion is to let the buyers file their litigation. This is a serious situation. It could have put us at a huge risk had we gone through this entire process and not known. We got lucky. We got very, very lucky. So, hold on, I got a question.
Leah, let me ask you a question. So, 2 different people claim to be the listing agent. One clearly was. We actually got clarification today from the broker that basically said that the listing agent that has the property, move ahead, forget about us, in the wrong. Do you feel like they're acting so quickly because they're worried about the possibility of being brought into some type of litigation?
I think so, and actually, I think Jan just hit it on the head. It sounds like she says it sounds like the seller was offered a cash incentive by one of the agents. It's definitely not my agent. It could have very well have been the other agent. There have been unfortunate rumors about the other parties involved in the other side of this transaction that are notorious for offering cash to a seller who is not entitled to cash. It is a good possibility that may have been the case. Um, the thing is that
Let me ask this question.
yeah.
Why is the seller not entitled to any type of monetary benefit
Aside from relocation assistance?
aside from the relocation assistance?
So relocation assistance isn't always granted. It's only granted if they own if the investor participates in relocation assistance program. You guys used to know it as HAFA. HAFA. I had to think about that. And it's only if the property is owner occupied. Outside of that, you are getting a bailout from your mortgage that you promised this bank in whatever year that you would pay this mortgage on time and pay it off within the 30 or 40 years allotted, or 10 jump, whatever you decide, 80/20. It you you're getting out of an obligation shortchanged to avoid foreclosure. So no, you're not entitled to any fees. That's why the bank is they scrutinize the HUD the way they do, why they scrutinize any LLC documents that come to make sure that the buyer isn't getting any kind of compensation whatsoever. Does it happen? Of course it happens. Can't tell you that, I mean, and as far as RRG is concerned, we've never watched it happen outside of relocation. Now, if something's happened after the fact, we have no knowledge of it, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know, because I will be forced to report you and have that entire short sale rescinded. So, but that's basically what it is. It's a bailout. They're being bailed out of the trouble that they're in, and why would we give you money? If you're going to take money, then you should find a way to sell the house outright.
Let me ask you a question though, because people do have different train of thought. There is what they call a chattel agreement, and that would be for purchase content inside the property. That's a legal document that may or may not allow somebody to sell content within their house. Isn't that legal?
So chattel's different. Chattel being selling like the appliances or the furniture or something as is. That's different because it comes with the property, because the property is being sold as is. Like in some cases, like we had one that the chattel was that they were selling all of the living room furniture and anything that was like the patio furniture and whatnot. That's fine. You're not giving cash for that. You're paying and you're taking the property as is. Now there are some situations where the seller will ask for money in exchange, like out-of-pocket money in exchange prior to the sale of the property for those items. It all has to get approved by the bank, period.
So if somebody actually has an agreement that they want to purchase the content in the house, and the attorney's aware of it, and at closing they're purchasing content in the property, that is allowed or it is not allowed?
It's typically not allowed, but sometimes the banks will make an exception depending on the situation. Kind of like a use and occupancy. Most of the time, sellers have to vacate the property for short sales, but if you request a use and occupancy for a certain amount of time, that document has to be drafted, obviously, by the attorneys, but the banks have to be notified and they have to make an agreement on that.
Interesting. So in this particular situation, we had a rapport with the homeowner. The other agent clearly has gotten into this homeowner's head, and we've talked about the repercussions of what the homeowner said, what they've stated. We're going to do our best, obviously, to try to rectify it so the homeowner does not go to foreclosure. Then the bank is aware of this mix-up, correct?
They are aware. They actually called right before we had this live to kind of follow up on what the buyers are willing to do. Sorry, I have a friend.
That's
Um,
awesome.
this is Calypso. Um, Nonetheless, the bank has asked. Hold on, let me get her out the way.
No, listen, not for nothing, but if that cat starts attacking you, I'm throwing shit on America's Funniest Home Videos.
Nope, she won't. She's in heat, unfortunately.
That would be
Um,
fun.
Anywho, they did ask to find out what the buyers were doing because at this present time, they're concerned that the buyers are getting ready to walk and the value hasn't been completed. So now they're asking who is the point of contact for the value. I told them it's still us. It's never been the other individuals. We don't have anything for them. That their negotiator has confirmed that there was never a listing agreement in place. And then the next question was, well, if there was never a listing agreement in place, who signed this? And I've asked for a copy of it. I've asked them to review it against the original note versus my authorization and my purchase contract. And the last words I heard from my negotiator on the bank side was, this document has been forged. And I then questioned which document, and he said from the other party. So we have a bigger issue now.
So the sad part about all this is that, and unfortunate, that people feel that because a person is in distress, that they can take advantage of the situation, make it seem like they're their friend. And in this unfortunate situation, when we got into it, I had asked, who is this other person? Are you continuing with them? I don't even, the person, the homeowner barely knew who the person was, didn't know if the person was a real estate agent. Now, I don't know whether it's true or not true of what the homeowner thinks, but I almost feel like we have to get a statement now for our file to rectify it. So if something happens at a later date, we're clear. The current listing agent is clear. And maybe also get a statement from the other parties that were involved too. Because at Real Estate Recovery Group, we're all about the documentation, covering, our bases and making sure that everything is done properly. Yesterday was one of those situations where I was sitting in my driveway and I felt like my body, my everything just drained out of me. It was like I had a death in the family. And the reason why I felt like that was because after 15 years of doing short sales, I've never run into a situation like this before. And I took it personal because you know as well as I do, Leah, we pride ourselves on customer service and doing the right thing for the seller. And the things that were coming over the phone, the homeowner was stating, was so upsetting to me. And to hear the homeowner yelling at this other agent saying, tell that guy to give you the key to my house. And I'm blown away because I believe, and I could be wrong, this homeowner had or has a real estate license. And for somebody to understand that and know that and to still do that and put two different real estate agents at risk, whether the person has a license or not, shame on that person. To put somebody in a situation like that, what's happened here is a short sale has gone wild. And we need to figure out how we're going to reel this back in and explain to the attorney who's representing, to the homeowner that feels for whatever reason, all of a sudden they don't want to sell. That's not going to happen in this situation. Is she in distress? Absolutely. Has she abandoned this property? 1,000,000%. The last time this property's been rented was 2 years ago. Well, this short sale is in the best interest of the homeowner, even if the homeowner is not thinking responsibly. And in my opinion, based on the buyer, I think he has the right to do whatever he wants to do. and protect his interests. He spent money. He waited like everybody else had waited to try to purchase the property. The initial buyer had fallen out, mainly because of proof of funds issues that could not be verified. And this person's more than qualified. Let me ask you a question, because this comes up a lot. Is the highest offer necessarily always the best offer? Wait, before you answer, is the highest offer always necessarily the best offer, or is it the terms of the offer itself, and knowing that there's no games that are going to be played as far as switching the price? Go ahead, answer now.
Okay, no, it's not. So we have a property right now in I'm trying to think of the one that we got with in Clifton. It's in Clifton. Sorry, I had to look at the address. So the offer that's in right now with the bank is a little under 300,000. The highest offer we got on the property was 360,000. The reason why we didn't go with the 360 was because the 360 was contingent upon the sale of the buyer's home.
Okay.
So yes, it was the highest offer, but it was not. It was not kind of. We can't wait to sell their home in order to fund the short sale. There have been situations in where we were able to do those situations, but it pushes it pretty. It makes it very difficult. We had one earlier that it was the same situation, and the buyer's buyer walked, and we had to wait till they got another buyer, and it real close. So we were able to close on the buyer's transaction on a Wednesday, and then the buyer and seller short sale closed on Thursday, and we funded everything on Friday. But that's a very stressful transaction. We've had others where it's contingent upon certain types of hard money loans. Like there was another offer in that group that was around 330, but it needed to go through an I-9 hard money loan review, which we just got out of one of those from South Carolina, and it was a hot mess. It was an absolute hot mess.
But it closed.
But no one deserves that kind of undue stress.
No.
So it may not necessarily be the highest offer, but if I have a flat $300,000 cash offer, no contingencies, waiving all inspections, versus someone who has to wait to sell their home or someone that's waiting for specialized hard money lending, I'm going to go with the cash offer because I want to go with what's best for the seller. The other ones that we were getting that were a little bit higher were all sight unseen. No flipping way. Guys, you're doing a short sale, don't submit an offer sight unseen, because I will tell you what, if you put an offer on one of my properties sight unseen, and then you try to come back and tell me, oh, I really want to reduce my offer by $70,000, which has happened, I'm going to tell you to get the F out of here. I'm not time. I'm literally on a time crunch. People like to call my processor a bit of a Nazi because of how aggressive he is. He's aggressive for a very damn good reason. Because if you get me in an aggressive manner, sorry, not nice.
Who knew that I was at a real estate recovery group?
Yeah, not nice. So I know there are a lot of agents out there that are like, oh, it's got to be best and highest, best and highest. It really is the seller's decision.
That annoys the shit out of me, by the way.
Yeah. Number one is the seller's decision. And if the seller takes a look at everything, and you have some sellers that are just absolutely great, they look at their contracts, they read everything, and they're like, yeah, it's higher, but here are the stipulations. I don't know if that's going to work for me, especially in my situation. And then sometimes, best and highest isn't always best because, like I said, there's a lot of what ifs that most people don't want to wait for, especially if there's a sale date looming ahead. You can't tell the foreclosure judge, hey, you're gonna wait for the buyer to get their act together in order to close the short sale, but we'll get this done. No, it doesn't work that way.
Lee, let me ask you a question, and you can answer this honestly, and if you don't, that's okay.
Ooh.
That's okay. That's okay too. The relationships that we have, obviously with the banks and the people that we deal with, they're not necessarily on the ground floor. after doing this for so long, myself and you, we've obviously built rapport with specific lenders. Is it fair to say across the board that the people that we deal with feel that it's a pleasure dealing with Real Estate Recovery Group because we are so thorough, or do they like dealing with real estate agents directly because they feel like they're dealing with the person who's dealing with the homeowner, or do they like having a third party negotiation company in place?
Honestly, I have some agents that are hands up, hands off. I'm all yours. You let me know what to do. You guide me. I have some agents that are in the thick of it, and they are my feet on the ground running, because most of you guys know I'm not in the Jersey area. And some of them want to control the transaction so much that they drive it into the ground.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
That they drive it into the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, so that it does happen. It just really kind of depends. I will be honest with you, people have made complaints about myself. People have made complaints about Will, maybe complaints about Matt. We're not here to be anybody's friend. We're here to do a job. And it's not that we don't want, when we tell you guys we treat you like family, we're going to talk to you just pretty plainly, because this is such a delicate situation that there's no kittens and rainbows and cut cream. It is brass tacks. We have to get down to bullshit and do the job right.
Right. I feel bad for sellers because for the most part, when they're faced with the situation that they have, they're not asking for help. They're totally burying their head in the sand. And then in the third hour, literally, when the shit hits the fan and sprays them back in the face, they're like, oh, what do I do now? And I'm talking to the people that are listening now, if you have somebody who's in trouble right now, call that phone number on the bottom of the screen. This isn't a sales pitch. This is what we do day in and day out. So we're going to try to help. Look, if you don't want to work with us, that's fine. At least find out a couple of things that maybe you don't know. It's about learning. It's about helping the homeowner. And I think, Leah, and I know that I'm wrong because I see it every day. People are putting the profit before the people. They're not putting the people before the profit. Now, anybody that's smart understands how the company gets paid will know that there's nobody making millions of dollars over here. It's about doing the right thing. So the calling that Real Estate Recovery Group has and the reach that we have now on a national level is sick because of the alliance that we're working with individuals. Lee, I have a person that I'm going to introduce you to that I had a long conversation with today. The last 2 years, she's worked with homeless people, and she's worked with people that are at poverty level and helped them with real estate, and has made 6 figures doing it. So she is the epitome of people before profit. I'm actually going to have her on one of the lives, but I want to introduce you to her because she's licensed in New York, but she's doing things in 5 or 6 different states around the country, which I think is amazing. So I think that people need to focus more on actually helping people and not trying to figure out, hey, how can I scam this homeowner? Like this particular situation with this property, the homeowner made it seem like they weren't talking to another real estate agent. When I was able to put 2 and 2 together, and then this agent basically said, without question, hands down, she is a listing agent of the property. She lied to me. Not only did she lie to me, but my understanding is that she actually, I believe, lied to her broker allegedly and didn't say that she was, quote unquote, the listing agent. Now, no paperwork was signed supposedly on the other side, but yet we're being told that there was paperwork that was sent in. And that, unfortunately, somewhat of a forgery. That's a huge issue in the industry that we are in because people don't know how to make money the right way with distressed sellers and putting them in danger because, Leah, what happens in a situation if there's a short sale and there might be fraud on it? Or what happens if an agent gets caught and potentially does fraud? Tell them what happens on the bank side.
So the banks, on the bank side, you're supposed to actually, if you're, it's two ways that it happens. If it's reported or it's found out, either way it goes, it flags the file. When the file is flagged, it can go one of two ways. It stays in within an internal fraud department for the bank, and then the bank then monitors the file to see what, like, the extenuating circumstances of that, like what really happened. Was it something as simple as just, redating an application for the seller as opposed to having them fill it out again? Or was it something as extreme as signing off on a contract for them? Or maybe lying about living in the property when they weren't in the property? Something silly versus something really severe. If it's something simple, something that's like a slap on the wrist, they keep it within internal fraud, but then they start restricting how many times the file can go into loss amendment review. They'll indemnify the loan. If it's an extreme circumstance, the investor, and in this case, the investor of the loan, I'm not going to release the investor's name, but they're not with.
Lee, you're freezing up. Leah. I think we might have lost Leah, ladies and gentlemen. Well, hopefully she'll come back on. Listen, I think regardless of what's going on right now, homeowners, real estate agents need to think and be realistic with what they're trying to do with the banks. The banks are not stupid. If you're going to say a property's on the MLS and it's not on the MLS, and if they find out that you actually forged or manipulated a document in some way, it's going to make it that the property will be flagged. It's also going to make it that, like Leah said, there's only a certain amount of times that they'll let the short sale go into review. Which most short sale agents don't do is to find out if we dispute the value, how many times can we dispute it before they'll actually shut the file down or say this is the final number. As far as agents that potentially commit or try to commit alleged fraud, willingly or unwillingly, can actually be blacklisted from a bank. And if you're blacklisted from a bank, that's bad news. That means that any time that you and or anyone that you're associated with, if they realize your name gets picked up, they will make it so you will not be able to submit a short sale packet. How embarrassing would that be to tell a homeowner, I'm sorry, I can't list your house, I've been banned from a bank. Just don't do it, guys. It's not worth it. So I think everybody got the gist today of what the call was about, what we were trying to do, and the fact that, the banks will flag short sales if they see something wrong with it. Now, look, if you have any questions, you have any concerns, the phone number is on the bottom of the screen. It's 866-739-3960. It's 866-739-3960. Along with that, if you guys, no, it's okay. If you guys want to know more about what we're up to and what we're doing, we do have a short sale boot camp coming up, and we keep going back and forth of whether or not it's going to be actually live or if it's actually going to be online. Either way, it's going to be amazing. If you want to find out more about that, information about the tickets for the short sales, you can go to the website, which is rrgbootcamp.com. It's rrgbootcamp.com to find out more about the short sale classes that we're going to be offering. Classes are going to be for beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So if you find the information that Lee and I talk about from time to time that's interesting, by all means, go to this website. Take a look at what we're offering, and we're willing to give people to understand how the industry works. Guys, you're going to want to do short sales the right way. Stop doing them the wrong way. Rules, regulations, and guidelines, that's what's going to make short sales win in the end. It's not about me. It's not about Leah. It's not about our company. It's about helping people that are in trouble. So you want to find out more about that. Lee, is there anything you want to add before we sign off? I know you went dark there for a little bit.
I don't have enough time, but I mean, honestly, guys, what it boils down to is if your banker negotiator is asking you for things, get it to them on time. Be honest. Communication is key. Don't just like wing it and throw something together and hope that nobody catches it. Don't lie. That's the biggest thing. And just make sure that your sellers are being very transparent with you. This
Leah, we lost. Here we go.
You lost me again?
Got you. Got transparent.
Okay. Need transparency, and like I said, this seller that we have going on, the chapter's not done with her yet. I've been kind of muzzled before I put it to myself to let her know the extent of what damage she's done to herself. But just make sure your sellers understand that they have to be honest and transparent. And what could happen is that it doesn't matter what they do. If they lie even once, it could be as simple as just having your name forged on a document, even though if they say, oh yeah, sign it for me. Get a power of attorney if you want somebody to sign for you. But rest assured, you'll get caught. Somewhere down the line, you will get caught.
Unfortunately, we do get that a lot where homeowners, they're like, oh, I'm too busy. I can't fill that out. Are you in front of a computer? Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to send it to you. You're going to fill it out, and you're going to send it back. So look, what I'm going to do, Lee, is I'm actually going to put your information up there.
Okay.
Look, guys, if you want to reach out to Leah directly, it's actually easier to get her during the day than it's really to get me. I'm putting on the bottom of the screen here. You can reach out to Leah. Her email address is ah@RERgroupllc.com. It's ah@RERgroupllc.com. If you want to know more about what we're doing, go to the boot camp site. Take a look at it. If you don't want to come to the event, great. If you don't want to go on to the online event that we might probably going to have, it's probably not going to be live. That's great too. Do yourself a favor. Get the education. Do something to find out what you're getting involved in. You could put yourself in a heap of trouble, especially like this agent that stated that she was, quote unquote, the listing agent of property. And the irony of all of this is I said, should I call the police? She actually said, call the police. I'm the listing agent. I kicked myself because I should have done it. And then it would have been even worse for the person. So based on that, I don't have anything else to add, Leah, do you?
No, just if anybody has questions, you guys are always welcome to reach out to me. No question's a stupid question. Only stupid answers if you don't ask them.
So I messed up.
Guess.
It's 866, not 886. Let me put that on there right now. I got that dyslexia thing going on now. You can call in 24 hours a day, 866-739-3960, 866-739-60. You can ask for Leah. You can ask for me. If you want to find out more about what we're doing and how we're helping people across the United States, feel free to go to the website, which is rrgbootcamp.com. If you have a question specific and you want to reach out to Leah, God help you, Leah. I don't give my email out anymore. You can reach out to her directly at ah@rergroupllc.com. Matter of fact, if you want to reach me and you want to email me over to Leah at ah@rergroupllc.com. Leah, at the end of every one of the videos, I ask my guests to see if they can emulate the finger point. You're no different. You're no different. You have to do the finger point. Okay, I'm going to give you a 4.5 because you didn't seem like you were not enthusiastic enough. You were not.
See how he treats me? I'm sick and he beats me up.
Raise it. Let me see what you got. Go for it. Okay. Look like you're getting ready to spank me. I might like that. That's a legend.
My husband will
tell you. Next week, 12 o'clock, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we are back the full week. Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. If you need us, you know how to reach out to us. Talk to you soon. Take care, guys. Leah, hold on one second.